Welcome, everybody, once again to the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show. We are to the semifinal round of the playoffs. The shows will be brought to you by, of course, as always, Gridiron Mo, an interactive football app where you get to call what the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. So check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. I'm your host for the CFL Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in all my co-hosts. We've got Brian Schmidt.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
We have former CFL Winnipeg Blue Bomber, Hall of Fame quarterback, Dieter Brock.
Well, I've missed the last couple of weeks, but it's good to be back with you guys.
And we missed you, too, because we had to deal with Joe Pritchard, who's coming back tonight. What's up, Joe?
Just spreading the good word of the grueling truth to the people.
And, of course, I saved the best for last, Oz Davis.
Okay, this is a setup, right? This is a setup for something, right?
It's not a setup for anything, Oz. What are you talking about?
No compliment goes unpunished, I think is the saying. In any case, good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
All right, so what did we learn last week, Oz?
Just in general?
Yeah, just in general. I mean, really, there was only, one or two games that really mattered at all? When you look at it, we'll go with your Montreal Alouettes since they won again.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
I think it's fair to say that if Jim Popp was never there, they would be a playoff team right now.
Well, he would have had to have stepped out a few years ago, I think, because this team was a creation of him being loyal to certain veterans on the defense, promoting his own guys like Anthony Calvillo through the coaching ranks, stuff like this, and ultimately deciding that he, I guess, didn't want to deal with being a head coach anymore. I mean, he was not very good at it. In 4 stints, he was something like 12-28, 1-4 in the playoffs. Not a very good mark as a coach, but you got to give the man props for signing Calvillo in 2008, I believe, as a free agent. So, I mean, if nothing else, you have to give kudos for that. And plus, the truth is this. Look, he was with this team since they came back from Baltimore. I think he was with the team in Baltimore as well, and put this team in the playoffs for 19 straight seasons, or helped do so. That's not a coincidence. But, yes, it's probably time to move on.
All right. I wasn't looking for a 15-minute answer on that. But
Sorry. Jim Popp is a big deal in Montreal Alouettes history. I mean, what can I say? This is a big thing.
All right, so we'll do this. I mean, end of the season award, most outstanding player. I mean, Dieter, does anybody have anybody other than Bo Levi Mitchell in this?
Well, you can, Mike Riley, of course, he led the league in passing yardage and had a heck of a year, but I would have to say Bo Levi Mitchell would probably be my choice.
All right, Joe, would you agree?
I absolutely agree. Just the mere fact that the team wins. What was it? 15-1-1 with him as a starter. I mean, that tells you something's working.
Brian?
Yeah, I think you have to go with Levi Mitchell. You're talking about a guy who has, in many ways, he is the Brady of the CFL. Goes out there, wins games, consistent. Rarely does he ever have a bad game. This year especially, he just went out there and was a machine. I'm not sure that there's really anybody else that really can come close.
All right, Oz?
Most outstanding player?
Yeah.
Solomon Elamimian, maybe? I think he's about the only guy you could put up there. I don't think Bo is completely out of reach. I mean, Solomon was awesome this year. You can make a case for that, I think.
All right, so we will go to the playoffs. We'll go ahead and go right into it. We'll get a little more in-depth than we normally do on it. We're going to start off with Winnipeg, a team close to Joe and Dieter's heart, at the BC Lions. what are the keys to winning this game for Winnipeg, Dieter?
Well, I think, Winnipeg's got to keep doing what they've been doing to get there, and that's playing error-free football offensively. Nichols has done a pretty good job, but though recently he's thrown some interceptions, and that's kind of something you got to have a little concern about. But defensively, they have been taking the ball away and giving Winnipeg all these opportunities. So Winnipeg to win this week will have to continue to do that, and they'll have to get some turnovers, and and they'll have to protect the football. And they got the best kicker in the league.
Now, I would think, Brian, that the big concern with Nichols is just playoff inexperience and that BC defensive line getting after him. When you combine those two, it could make for a long game.
It does, and it's really going to come down to how quickly he gets his feet under him. It's a big difference between regular season football and playoff football, and how quickly in the game he gets his feet under him, is comfortable, and it's got to come from the guys around him. He got to be able to let him play his game. Everybody else has got to be playing their game, and do not let this BC defense start to get that momentum, because as we've seen throughout the year, if this BC defense gets that momentum and gets things going, they can be very difficult.
Yeah, and when you look at BC, Oz, they have a young quarterback, too, that hadn't really been in this situation, Jonathan Jennings. And he's been up and down, hit or miss. I mean, which team do you think has the advantage at quarterback in this game?
That's a very good question, because if Dieter is right, and I suspect he is, it's all going to be about not turning the ball over. Winnipeg may get less impressive offensive stats and still win the game based on that concept. However, here's what I think. I think BC is going to downshift a little bit. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. Winnipeg has an average running defense, and BC showed us in the last game how often they're ready to run. Now, possibly they could have a three-headed monster going in this game. That's a lot of carries. They could be throwing a lot of carries at Winnipeg in this game and in these playoffs. I'd be interested to see it if that happens. Plus, it covers a lot of Jennings' opportunities. The problem with Jennings is he takes chances. Okay, so give him fewer risky opportunities, and he doesn't get to do that.
And Oz, the last game he played against them, which they lost, he was 22 for 29, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions.
Right.
That means he was throwing an interception every 10 passes in that game.
Right. I mean, you look at this guy, and it's like he's flashy. He's doing stuff like throwing in the air, throwing this way, throwing that way, running to one side, and then trying to make the pass across the field or whatever. He's just taking – he's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger is the thing. And he's not good enough that he reduces those turnovers. And against Winnipeg, you can't be throwing 3 interceptions. You can't. Game over if you do that.
Yeah, and if you look, Joe, Matt Nichols, though, the game they won, 27 for 38, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But I think one of the differences was Andrew Harris was more successful running the ball than Jeremiah Johnson. And as I said, I think running the ball will be a big deal. Plus Winnipeg's ability to block BC's defensive line.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very important to establish Andrew Harris as well. I don't think you're going to see as many possessions in this game as we've seen in the past couple, simply because I think Wally Buono is going to go rather conservative. Winnipeg is going to have to take advantage of their opportunities when they come, so they're going to have to work with ball control as well. I think the biggest thing is going to be Winnipeg being able to succeed in the red zone. Justin Medlock has set the record for field goals in the season. Now, that's a good thing for him, but that's also an indictment of the Winnipeg offense. They need to score touchdowns this week instead of field goals.
Yeah, and I think in the end, with 2 quarterbacks that are basically rookies in this situation, and they combined for 5 touchdowns the last time the 2 teams played, I think it's going to hinge on who can run the ball, who can play defense, and which one of these quarterbacks doesn't cough it up, or which one coughs it up the least.
Mike, can I get in a question here, Mike? I got a question here for Dieter. Dieter, look, there's a lot of talk about rookie quarterbacks playing their first playoff game. We're also going to get this in the NFL later in the year, too, by the way. What do you have to do? You've done this before. What do you have to do in a playoff game that's different than a regular season game, like your first time as a rookie? What do you do that's different?
Well, you really hope that you go in there and just play your game. I mean, you want to. You don't want to really change, what you are. I mean, you want to go out and give the quarterbacks the opportunity to play, and you don't want to hold anything back. I mean, I think you got to let them play, and I think both of these quarterbacks, I mean, are good enough, that and they play well, that they can do the job. But it does come down to, I mean, you've got to. You've got to make sure that you protect the football as much as you possibly can without thinking about it. I mean, you got to play your game, though. I mean, you got to let them play.
Yeah, and I mean that was kind of my thought when Joe said that he thinks Wally Bono will play it close to the vest. I don't think he will. I think Wally Bono is a great coach, and I think he knows that if you tighten everything up, I don't know. What do you think, Brian? You tighten everything up for the playoffs? Doesn't that kind of show your quarterback you don't have maybe a lot of confidence in him?
You got to play your game. You got to do what got you. And you got to play your game. You can't get tight in the playoffs. You get tight in the playoffs, you're going to be going home. You got to play your game and let the chips fall where they may. You don't change your game plan now. It's too late for that. It's time to put all the cards on the table and go get it. So I would expect to see them attack, and go after it. Look, if you're going to lose this game, lose it playing your game.
All right, so it's time for us to put all our cards on the table. We'll start with Joe, since he's the new guy, and we like to bully the new guy. Well, at least Oz does. But who you got, Winnipeg or BC?
My heart says Winnipeg all the way, but my head is telling me BC wins this one in a close one.
All right, so Joe's got BC. Dieter?
Well, I mean, I think Winnipeg is beaten BC twice this year, and I feel like that they'll go in there and play the way they've been playing and get some turnovers, and Nichols will play his game. And though I like Jennings, I like what BC does, but I've got to go with Winnipeg on this one.
All right, Brian.
I've kind of thought about this. I think I got to go with Winnipeg on this. I've gone back and forth in my head. I think I got to go with Winnipeg on this. I think this is a game that, with the rookie quarterback, things have got to go well, and I think Winnipeg has the ability to be more consistent in this football game. So I think this is a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Winnipeg.
All right, Oz.
Wow, I'm glad you guys went with Winnipeg. That's a very good pick. But I'm going with BC. Yes, Dieter is correct. They played 2 games back-to-back. Both games were within 3 points. Maybe even both games were within 2 points. They were both very close. And both in the 30s. However, I don't think this game will be as high scoring if BC wins. And I'm taking, let's see, what else could I throw in here? As long as Jennings doesn't throw more than 2 interceptions, BC wins this game. However, I would not bet on it.
I thought you would bet on anything, Oz.
Well, are you going to give me points?
No, I'm not. But
not quite anything.
This is my thing. I think when it comes down to, I'm going to go with Buono and I'm going to go with Jennings. I just think Buono is probably going to be more apt to let Jennings play than Nichols is going to be allowed. And I think you're right. 2 interceptions or less, they win the game. 2 or more, they lose the game. I think Jeremiah Johnson will run the ball better than what he did the last game. Andrew Harris for Winnipeg worries me a little bit. I think the game's a toss-up. I can say this. I want Winnipeg to win the game, but I am going to side with BC in a close game also. So, sorry, Dieter.
Well, we'll see. It should be a good one.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. So I've got no problem if Winnipeg wins the game because I've been a Blue Bomber fan my whole life. No response?
Are you talking to me? That's good.
I'm just basically talking. I'm just hoping that Oz doesn't tell a 15-minute story off of something I said. All right. We will go with Oz's favorite team, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, with Zach Collaros. We'll be hosting the Edmonton Eskimos and Mike Riley Sunday at Tim Hortons Field. I don't know. Oz? Any fear of Zach Collaros, or do you think Hamilton's so bad that they have no chance here?
Hamilton's so bad they really have no chance. I mean, they're backing into the playoffs on what 2-4 run. Haven't beaten anybody decent lately. Lost to Montreal. Let's see, what else do I have on these guys? It feels like it feels like the season for Hamilton has been over for a long time already, doesn't it? I mean, this is your 7-11 team that makes the CFL playoffs. I don't know. The weird thing is this: the line on this game is just 2.5 points.
Well, Edmonton, just a couple weeks ago, only beat them 29-26.
Well, Edmonton's a heck of a lot hotter than they are right now. I mean, they're going into this thing at 5-1 in their last 6. I mean, that's I think Edmonton has had to figure out a lot of things this season. They're brand new coaching staff, more or less. They brought in some new guys. They had to figure out how these parts fit, and it took them all season to do it. They had, Riley had to figure out how to deal with a collapsing line on every other play. For example, they broke out some new wide receivers towards the end of the year. The defense had to learn how to play their zones correctly. It's just that it all came together in the end. And now is the correct time for them to be going on a roll. I think this is a classic built for the playoffs team. I think it happened by accident, but they're getting hot at the right time.
Well, I would like to bring up the fact that 7 or 8 weeks ago, I told you I thought they could get hot and make the playoffs, and you basically told me I was an imbecile.
Oh, come, imbecile. Yeah, that's...
Did he not, Dieter? Didn't he make fun of me when I said, don't you think Edmonton could get hot? And then you told me about how tough their schedule was and how they had no chance.
Yes. Their schedule was tough at the end of the year, and they acquitted themselves extremely well.
But you mocked me.
It was impressive.
You mocked me.
I don't know if
I
mocked you. You're so
You mocked me.
You're such a sensitive guy, Mike.
You're such a baby. Freaking people from California. All right. We'll go to Hamilton. I mean, Dieter, I think Hamilton could possibly win this game if C.J. Gable has a big game running the ball.
Well, I think the key here for Hamilton is and I'm going to say it again, I think it's Collaros. I know, he's been in and out all year, but having him back there, I think, gives them, in my opinion, the best chance here of winning this game. Everything says Edmonton here, but with Collaros coming back in there, I know they've had injuries, they've lost some receivers, but I really like Zach, and I think that he's gonna make this game very interesting.
Yeah, but my point on that is this, and maybe Brian, you can address this. Mike Riley's got John White, who's ran the ball really good. The last time they played Hamilton, 15 for 132. But I think I don't think that Hamilton can be one-dimensional and win this game. And I think C.J. Gable is the key to not being one-dimensional to win this game.
Yeah, I don't think Hamilton can be one-dimensional. I don't know at this point that anybody can be one-dimensional, but Hamilton's got to try to use every weapon that they have. Yes, they're going to go as Collaros go, but you've got to use every weapon. You've got to give yourself an opportunity. And Gable is a huge weapon that they need to really use to have an opportunity to win this game because it's going to be tough. Mike Riley is a darn good quarterback, and it's not going to be easy. So you've got to use every weapon at your disposal.
Yeah, and I think, Joe, in my opinion, I think Mike Riley, while he's not I wouldn't give him the MOP this year. I would go with Mitchell there just because of the year he's had. To me, Riley's the best quarterback in this league, and that's what makes this team so dangerous.
Absolutely. Riley has, and Riley's play has picked up immensely here in the last half of the season, where it's really almost seeing a quarterback that went from being a great quarterback to really upping his play, and because he has upped his level of play, he has upped the level of play of the people around him. We've seen that with the running game. We've seen the offensive line get better. We've seen receivers get better. I mean, it's almost like he has kind of taken his will and everybody else has kind of grabbed on to his back and said, hey, we're gonna go with this guy. So, Edmonton is going to be a tough team, but you can't count Hamilton out just because they've got a guy at quarterback that can be every bit as good.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Collaros is a hell of a quarterback, even though Oz doesn't like him. Joe, do you think that Edmonton has enough defense to make a run and make it back-to-back Grey Cups this year?
Oh, I absolutely think they have that capability. They really struggled on defense the first months of the season, and that really colored everybody's perception of their defense going forward. But they really clamped down mid-season. They're starting to make plays. Between that, I would take Edmonton's defense over Hamilton's defense, which just doesn't scare anybody. Hamilton is going to be one-dimensional because Ken Austin doesn't seem to know what to do with C.J. Gable. I think Hamilton's going to play right into Edmonton's hands all day long, and then all you have to do for Edmonton then the next week is to shut down Henry Burris. And they were well on the way to doing that the one time they met, even when they had a rough patch on defense before Burris went out and Trevor Harris came in and lit them up.
All right. So, Joe, who are you picking? I think I know what you just said, but...
Yeah, Edmonton, and I don't think it's particularly close.
All right, Oz.
No, I'm with my partner on this one. Yep, absolutely. Not close, Edmonton.
I didn't know you guys were life partners. Brian.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Edmonton, but I'm going to go different than the life partners. I think this will be a little bit different.
I'm really going to have to choose my vocabulary a bit more precisely.
Go ahead, Brian.
I think this game will be closer than what's thought, but I do think in the end, I think Hamilton is just too much right now, and I think that they got hot at the right time. So I really think it'll be again. I think it'll be close, but I think Edmonton will win. Now I will say this: if Hamilton does win this, then we could very well be looking at that 7-11 team that gets hot in the playoffs.
Yeah, because they've got the offensive capability of doing it. I just don't know if they got the offensive line and the defense to help them get there, though, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. But again, we're now in a different season. We're no longer looking over a 16-game season. We're looking at a shortened season, and things can play differently in a short season. So. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game, but I think Edmonton's just too much.
All right, Peter.
Wow. All you guys made great opinions on this, and I do think Edmonton's got some great receivers, and Riley's played great. I'm just going to go. Against my better judgment, I'm going to say that Hamilton's going to pull the upset here.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I would like to say this before Oz laughs and mocks you. I'm going to go with Dieter on this game.
Yeah.
I like Zach Collaros. He's going to get hot. They're going to win the game, and then Oz is going to have to apologize to me in front of everybody next week.
You're telling me you're like pumping up C.J. Gable as the secret weapon. You're telling me that Mike Riley is the best player in the CFL, and one of the reasons that's predicated on is him winning in the playoffs previously.
Yeah, and he
yet
has.
you're
He
going
won the
with
Grey
Hamilton.
Cup last year.
And yet,
you don't
yeah,
win it. So
yet,
I guess Tom Brady's not
Hamilton.
the best player in the NFL since he didn't win the Super Bowl every year.
Didn't we have this same argument in reverse once?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm shocked you're going with Hamilton. I am shocked you're going with Hamilton. Yeah.
Well,
but it is
a
brave pick. It is noble.
Hey, I'll do it. There's 5 of us here. One of us is in the Hall of Fame, and I'm going with the Hall of Famer.
Right, okay. It is a noble choice. It is.
It's not a noble choice. It's just the right choice because I told you this would happen earlier in the season. You mocked me, and then when they went on a losing streak and he got hurt again, you mocked me continuously through the year. And now it's time for your
Mike, they're 4-7 with him as a starter this year, if you include last weekend's game. Okay, probably you shouldn't. Okay, they're 4-6 with
Brian,
him as a
right
starter.
now, going into this new season, what's Hamilton's record?
No.
0-0.
Yeah, they got every game at home. For the rest
What's
of the
Edmonton's record?
0-0.
So they are tied. Joe.
My God.
I know you got to put up with Oz every week on that Rouge, White, and Blue show, and I just wanted to apologize.
Hey, I chose that well before I knew the Grueling Truth existed. So
hey, I can tell you this: you check out the numbers on the Rouge, White, and Blue. Today was by far your yesterday's show was by far your most listened to show.
That's because we're awesome.
You pretty much doubled all the numbers. That we paid a bunch of people $1 each to listen for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Dieter, any final words?
No, these should be some pretty good games here. I'm really looking forward to seeing these games this week, and just ready. It should be interesting.
All right, Brian.
The fun time of year is here, playoff time. And playoff time is where sometimes not everything is as it seems. So I would expect to see an upset or two.
All right, Joe.
So I'm not used to this whole watching the Bombers in the playoffs thing. I wonder how nervous I'm going to become Sunday.
Okay, Oz, how nervous will he become Sunday?
Somewhat. Yeah, you'll be very nervous, Joe. You'll be very nervous. You'll be standing basically on top of the TV, as is your wont, by the fourth.
You can't anymore. They got them slim TVs. His feet won't fit. He'll fall right off.
Oh, he'll be right against it.
Unless he's got one of those big 25-inch box TVs like Oz has still got.
Hey, are these games on ESPN2 this week?
I don't know. I know you'll be able to get them on ESPN3 either way, but Oz, do you know the answer to that question?
That is a very good question. If you guys can say goodbye for about 2 more minutes, I can probably find it in the meantime.
Okay. So,
you
were the one that was supposed to talk next.
Start plugging all our shows on the Grueling Truth.
Well, I'm looking it up right now, so it's not going to take me 10 days. But I don't know. Well, that's what you said, didn't you? 2 days, 10 minutes?
2 minutes.
I don't know.
Yeah, just not paying attention.
RDS. We're watching the USA. Yes, Dieter. No, Dieter. The first game at 1 o'clock is on the ESPN2. The second game at 4:30 is on ESPN3.
Okay, so the first one is The first one, I think, is Edmonton-Hamilton, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have to go to watch the Blue Bombers. You have to get on ESPN3, and then the conference finals the next week are both ESPN3, and then the Grey Cup will be on ESPN2.
Yeah.
All right.
And who's the halftime entertainment, Oz, for the Grey Cup this year?
Oh, I forget. Do you know, Joe?
I will be paying no attention to that because I'll be trying to find my way to a restroom in BMO.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Somebody stuffed Joe in a can?
I know. I think Joe might be talking from out of that toilet he was talking about.
That must be.
But make sure you come back and catch us next week for the conference final preview show, where Zach Caleras will make an appearance to smack the crap out of Oz. Oz, what's your final words? I know you got something to say.
Enjoy the games. Listen to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast right here at thegruelingtruth.net, et cetera, et cetera. And as for me, this is 1 down, 2 to go. Yeah,
also for me and Schmidt, too. We got another show to go to with the NFL Pick'em Show. So, once again, I won again, Brian, just so you know.
That's great.
Well, No offense. I mean, my team didn't play this week to lose, so that probably saved me on one of those games.
Yeah.
So
hey, trust me. When your first question is the take from the week, it's going to be brutal coming out of my mouth. But you might want to just skip me. So.
Also about the Steelers, so I'm fine with it if it's brutal. Nobody likes the Steelers. Dieter, you don't like the Steelers, do you?
No, I'm not a Steeler fan.
See?
No.
Joe, you like the Steelers?
My mother-in-law likes the Steelers, but I definitely do not.
I figured you definitely did not if your mother-in-law liked them. And Oz, I don't really care if you do or not. So make sure you catch us next week with the conference final shows, because Oz will be the contrarian and just say that he does even if he doesn't. Correct, Oz?
Absolutely.
See? So make sure you check us next week. The week after that, we'll have our Grey Cup special where we should have a very special guest or two on for the Grey Cup show, which may run a little longer because we're going to have Oz sing and dance.
Sing? And, oh, yeah, dancing. That'll make great podcasts.
Well, it will, because you're going to videotape it. We'll put it on YouTube. But I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. I want to thank everybody for listening in. Make sure you check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. So for Joe Pritchard, Brian Schmidt, Oz Davis, Dieter Brock, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.